This is Stars and Scopes with your friend Uma, updated every new and full moon with guidance based on planetary transits in the current sky and extra support from tarot. For accuracy, take a look at your rising sign first if you know it, and do feel free to listen to your sun, moon and rising if you'd like the full picture. If you're interested in your birth chart, check out the readings page at umaruby.com, and if you'd like to support the work, head over to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby and you can buy me a coffee. Finally, if you're a visual learner, look up Uma Ruby Tarot on YouTube and you can watch and learn. Okay, let's take a look. Hello Pisces and Pisces rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the solar eclipse in Scorpio happening on the 25th of October at 9:49 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Little trigger warning, I think, Pisces. We're going to talk about grief and loss quite a bit in this reading, I believe. So if that's stuff that you just don't have the energy for right now, it's completely understandable, and I won't hold it against you if you skip this one out. There's a real overarching energy to this whole reading, this whole suite of readings, but also this eclipse, I think, is going to bring with it an opportunity for us to honor the emotion, the feeling of grief. The guide for us today is going to be the Five of Cups. For the reason that the sun and the moon are in conjunction at 2 degrees in Scorpio, and this is the tarot card that represents 2 degrees of Scorpio. And also for the middling point of these eclipses. If you cast your mind back to May the 15th or the 16th, there was change that emerged at that period of time. And specific to your ninth house, which is what Scorpio rules. The ninth is the house of publishing and learning and mind expansion and spiritual study. All of those things can be travel as well. Anything that expands the mind and the experience. And the third house, which is much more local. It's about the localized environment, our brothers, our sisters, the way that we learn to communicate and share our voice, share what we know. These two houses are being activated by these eclipses. And when a house is activated by an eclipse, it tends to take something away, or it tends to redirect us into a path that is much better suited for our journey. And so with that potential loss comes grief. And this is the middling point, remember? So this is not something that is fresh to us. We discussed it 6 months ago, and then 6 months prior to that, there was the first of this suite of eclipses in Taurus in December of 2021, I believe, the first change in the way that we're communicating and what we're learning and how we're trying to expand. So, I wonder how your progress is moving along, Pisces. I wonder if there's study that you've undertaken, or that there's guides that you've been following in this way of wanting to expand your mind and wanting to learn and wanting to help, to sort of activate that service part of Pisces, which is so important. Virgo and Pisces are both the healers of the zodiac. So there's definitely an urge for you to want to transfer the information that you've learned in order to help others. When you think of May, the middle of May of this year, think about your life. Maybe you can go back over your journals and come to find the similarities, or find the correlation, the connector point to what might be going on right now as you move forward in your study, as you move forward in your ability to share. I think there's a megaphone on the third house, and then there's the, sort of amplified internet on the ninth. The ninth is sort of written in the tablets of of life. It's sort of publishing to the extent to benefit all and many generations to come. Whereas the third is more vulnerable. It's how we sort of exist in a village and how we find our space, our position there, and our voice as well. So what drastically changed in May? What's come to an end? And what are you being reminded of now because of that change? I really feel this grief. I feel this loss. It's not been an easy time, Pisces, for anybody. There's been so much that we've needed to let go of, in so many ways that we've had to expand our mind to find faith, to find hope, to find that reason to move on and to think about the experience of life, less to do with just our singular one, but to try and expand and try and zoom out and incorporate everyone and work together. And if you've been using that voice, or if you've been misunderstood perhaps in some way, that might be something that's coming up too at this eclipse. It might be like, listen to your guides at this time. That might be a really great way to think about eclipses, really simply, is that it's your guides, your spirit guides, the guides in nature, God, the planets, whichever language you use that connects you to the other realm, that connects you to your Piscean soul, to that space beyond the veil, to that 12th house, whatever language it is that you have that makes you comfortable, that entity, that body of energy, that light, is the one in charge at eclipse time. The ancients used to be frightened of eclipses. They used to run in fear, that they'd done something, and the gods were smiting them for their indiscretion, their sin. And that's not the case. We know that now. We know the scientific reality of an eclipse. In astrology, we do take this time with reverence. We do stop and listen and allow our environment to inform our next move. That's probably a good way to put it too. So I don't know if there's been something that you've been toiling away at, or if there's been some kind of journal that you've been plugging away at, willing to publish, or if there's something you're wanting to transfer what it is that you know about spirituality, what it is you know about magic, and you're wanting to share that with other folks. And this eclipse is a roadblock, not a blockage to stop you on your tracks, but definitely a moment for you to put tools down, put magical tools down, and allow your guides to show you the next leg of this path, this journey. Think about your path as a vein. I don't think that you need to think about it so much as a straight line to success. Think about it as a branch or a vein or any one of those natural structures that twists and turns and forks off. There are many forks there's many forks in all of the roads of life. And none of them are failures. None of them are moments for you to feel defeated. But definitely to experience grief at what is needed to fall away in order for you to move ahead and for you to continue to expand your mind and continue to grow. You're not doing anything wrong, Pisces. You're working from an honest space. The 9th house is very important to you. But think about it in terms of Scorpio as well, I might, because the Scorpio energy of your 9th house might go to show you just how important it is for you to express yourself and to be understood, for the lessons that you're putting down or the lessons that you're absorbing, for there to be a lovely relationship between those two things and for you to really understand it and be understood. There's no shame in longing to be understood finally. after maybe a time of being misunderstood, or being your offerings being taken in a way, in a different way than you had meant them, than you intended them. That could be maybe something that's coming up at this eclipse for you. Know that your guides are protecting you, and that they love you so much, and that they are at all times at the ready, at the forefront, leading you to the place where you belong. And so probably some of this grief might be attached to maybe some ego stuff. It might be attached to your, the ingrained system of linear success that we've all been taught. Maybe this idea of being, you should be at this stage in life at this age, or you should have accrued this amount of knowledge at this part in your practice. You should be a certain master of something at this stage. All of that stuff might be things to grieve, but also to, through that grief, remember what's left. After these 3 cups have been knocked down, for sure, absolutely, that's loss. But there's still 2 cups left. There's still so much potential here, and there's so much, there's so much of the offer still here. I'm looking at the other tarot cards that I pulled you, Pisces, and I got the King of Cups. I got the Tower, which is, eclipse in visual form. And I got the Knight of Cups. So what I see here maybe is there's a message here for you to not keep it simple, to keep it the essence of what you're saying, or what you're contributing, is you don't need to skip to the end, Pisces. You're at the very beginning. Don't skip the middle bit. Don't skip the highest vibration of the Knight of Cups that I can see is Sharon Van Etten, Not just, Sharon Van Etten's a bloody master, Sharon Van Etten is the King of Cups, right? But that there's a simplicity in the way that Sharon Van Etten describes emotions in her work. With very few words, she can beautifully articulate a feeling, a very specific feeling, with a simplicity. So maybe in this way, there's in your ninth, the idea of sharing, in that idea of spiritual teaching, that idea of expanding the mind, wanting to venture forth and go out and conquer. This here, perhaps you can grieve the idea that you are not the king, or that you've let go of a king, that this sort of kingly energy, this victor is not so in your energy at the moment. But the eclipse is here to remind you that you are the knight, and there is such beauty in the knight. The knight holds so much wisdom in its simple beauty. So pare back, simplify. Might be good for you to measure your results against your input, sort of how much you're working, measure that up with your results. What is presenting itself? If it's in terms of study, you can read 50 books, but if you're not absorbing the information of 50 books, which I dare say you might not be, that's cramming, and that's not natural. It might be better to sit for a moment and exist in the idea of where you are right now being the perfect place. Be vulnerable and have, extend this offering from a place of simple joy, rather than needing to be some sort of master. at the stage that you're at, or rather than needing to be some sort of overarching authority figure, you know. The King of Cups is very uncomfortable on their throne. Julia, my tarot teacher, tells me that it's a stone throne. As much as we love the King of Cups and they're a very empathetic, beautiful, caring energy, they're uncomfortable being a part of the hierarchy, a part of the royal table, you know. There's something that they prefer not to be. They prefer to be in the ocean swimming around with everyone else. So in your practice, I dare say that it might be really important to remember that the hierarchy is busted. There is no hierarchy. We're all learning, we're all teaching, all at the same time. And whatever measure of success that you've held on to or held out for or are looking before you, maybe it's in terms of, you know, the amount of students that you have, or maybe it's in terms of the teachers that you're going to learn. There's definitely something that's going to rewrite itself around that space at this lunation, at this solar eclipse in Scorpio. The best thing we can do at a solar eclipse in Scorpio is to allow that solar energy to melt some of that water, that scorpionic ice. Let it out, have a tantrum. If you crack the shits, you've cracked the shits. It's all right, doesn't matter. It's important for you to crack the shits. You're not, you know what, even the Empress cracks the shits. I've seen her do it. All right, Pisces, there you go. That's your reading. I hope that was okay. It was, yeah, I think, yeah. Anyway, I'll watch it later when I need it. I love you very much. Get your birth chart read at umaruby.com, yeah? And I'll be back with you in 2 weeks at the full lunar eclipse in Taurus, which will be playing on your third house of the village, of communication, your siblings, your sort of localized environment. So 9th, we think lofty aspiration. 3rd, we think localized environment. So there'll be some change there too. And interesting to see the relationship between both those houses and how much they have in common, or how much they have to inform one another. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, Pisces.